Hello, Yogiful family. Welcome back. We have a special treat today. Today, we're going to go on a yoga adventure all about Rhino Rocks. What? What is a Rhino Rock? So it's easy. Find a nice, comfortable space that you can join me and follow along and do what I do. That's it. Let's get started. Once upon a time, there was a little child named Alex. And Alex woke up one morning feeling a little different. So coming down onto our backs, laying down, we're going to use our arms to prop us up, and Alex woke up feeling overwhelmed and feeling stressed and anxious and upset. So let's tap all over our body. Tap on our legs, tap on our toes, tap on our bellies and our shoulders and our chest and our arms, tapping our fingertips, tapping our face, and Alex was frustrated. But Alex didn't know why. Let's come to a nice little squat. So putting our feet on the ground, bending our knees as much as we can. And Alex had all these big emotions, but didn't know why. Let's come to big emotion pose. So we're gonna jump up on the count of 3 together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Big emotions! And Alex decided to do something. Alex knew that going outside would help. So Alex put on his shoes, lift up one leg if you can, hold on to the wall if you need to, put on one shoe, whoop, and slowly lift up your other leg, put on your other shoe, whoop, and Alex decided to open the door and go outside. And Alex decided to sit under their favorite tree. Going to tree pose, maybe you remember this one. Slowly lifting up one leg, bringing it either on top of your foot, by your calf, or above your knee, whatever feels good for you. And Alex relaxed under the tree for a minute. And switching legs, slowly lifting up the other foot. But there was something under the tree that Alex had never seen before. It was 4 soft, smooth rocks. Feeling frustrated that there was something new under his favorite tree, Alex decided to kick them. So, bringing both of our feet out, we're going to kick the rocks. Bring our opposite arm out, we're gonna kick our opposite leg to opposite arm, like this. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4, kick it harder, 5, 6. But then, the rocks kicked back. So, coming down to rock pose, all of a sudden, in front of Alex's eyes, the rocks transformed into, you guessed it, rhinos. Bringing our legs out wide, bending our knees, leaning forward a little bit, and bringing our horn above our head. And these rhino rocks were bouncing into each other and going all over the place. Alex was pretty confused. So I think, like anybody else would do in this situation, Alex decided to observe them for a minute. So opening up our legs pretty wide, bending forward, and watching these little rhino rocks bouncing into each other. If you can bring your hands down to your feet, or your shins, or on your thighs, whatever feels most comfortable. And Alex observed these rocks for a few minutes. Then Alex had an idea. Coming down onto our bellies for cobra pose, Alex got down really low and decided to stack the rocks. So he stacked them up really quickly, one on top of the other. Coming back up to rhino pose, the rhinos seem to giggle a little bit. Can you giggle? Ha 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 ha. It can be dramatic. Ho 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 ho. And the rhino rocks all of a sudden crashed to the ground. You ready to crash? 1, 2, 3. And all the rocks were down. Alex came back up, so coming back to cobra pose, it was like, what? So Alex put the rocks back on top of each other really quick again, and coming back to rhino pose, the rhino rocks fell over again on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Crash! Alex was pretty frustrated yet again. So Alex knew what to do. Alex took off his shoes. So lifting up both of your legs, if you can, take off one shoe and throw it. Take out the other shoe and throw it. And Alex decided to walk around the yard with his bare feet. Really slowly. Try to feel your ankle or the bottom of your heel on the ground. It'd be hard to feel your ankle. Feel the ball of your feet or this part on the ground. Feel your toes. And Alex could feel the grass between his feet. The grass was a little wet, so it almost felt kind of muddy. And Alex walked all around the yard. Then Alex went back to the tree, going back to tree pose and switching sides. And Alex looked down again at the Rhino Rocks, and they were still bumping into each other. So this time Alex watched them for a second. And Alex came up with an idea. So coming back onto Cobra pose, putting our bellies on the ground, using our arms to lift our chests up just a little bit, Alex decided to stack them again. This time a little bit slower. So Alex put one rock down, then the other, then the third, then the fourth. And he let go. And the Rhino Rocks held their shape for about 1 second, and they crashed to the ground again. 1, 2, 3, crash! Ugh. This time, Alex didn't know what to do. He was sitting there looking at the rocks, and he went, ugh, and laid back. Then Alex noticed the branches on the trees and started to see a butterfly going by. And the butterfly disappeared. And Alex started to notice the clouds. They almost seemed to be dancing. And Alex swore he saw an alligator cloud eating a TV. Wait, maybe that was a book. Alex couldn't tell, but he giggled a little bit and enjoyed just sitting for a second. And then the clouds kind of dissipated and it's just kind of white spots in the blue sky. So Alex decided to get up. So Alex leaned up and looked forward, and there were the Rhino Rocks. This time Alex had a different idea. He sat there and he observed those rocks for quite a few minutes, more than most kids I think would do. And Alex watched all of those Rhino Rocks and how they interacted with each other and how they bounced into each other. This sparked some creativity and some excitement in Alex for really the first time since he had been working with these rocks. So he came back down onto his belly and decided to try something different. I'm going to take one of my rocks to show you. So Alex was studying the rocks and felt every little crevice and noticed all the little cracks. Alex even smelled them. Maybe he even licked them. And he noticed how the rocks would go into each other or sit on top of each other and figured out which rock would go on top of the other. So Alex slowly and carefully and confidently became friends with these Rhino Rocks. And he very slowly, I mean, took him quite a few minutes, he stacked the rocks one on top of the other. Coming back to Rhino pose. This time the Rhino Rocks, it looked like they were about to butt heads or fall over, but Alex took a big inhale and the rocks didn't budge. They were all aligned. So the rocks, the Rhino Rocks, turned back into normal little rocks. Coming back to rock pose. And this time, find a comfortable seated position. This time, the rocks were all aligned. And so was Alex, for the first time all day. Well, that's the end of our Rhino Rock story. Hopefully you're in a nice, comfortable seated position. And let's close our eyes and do 3 deep breaths together to end our practice today. So sitting up tall, closing our eyes. Maybe you feel like Alex sometimes. Maybe you feel frustrated and angry for no reason. And that's okay. It's okay to feel these big emotions. And sometimes there's things that will help and sometimes they won't. But Alex knew that going outside would always help. And Alex learned how to stack Rhino Rocks. Maybe you can try this too. Let's inhale together and exhale through our mouth, releasing any sticky extra energy that we don't want in our body right now. Go ahead and inhale. Exhale through our mouths. 2 more. Rubbing our hands together to warm them up. Placing them over our eyes. Slowly fluttering our eyes open. And peeling our fingers away from our face. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for stopping by. And remember, stay Yogiful. Namaste, namaste, namaste. Bye-bye.
Hello kids, get your yoga on. Join with me, it'll be real fun.